get that party started. So Dr. Mike Loudon is our greeter today, retired minister of the First Pres Church, a Paul Harris Fellow, 22-year Rotarian in this club, past president of another club, and is a board member elect for us this year. Thank you very much, Dr. Mike. Appreciate it. Amanda, at this time, let's call this meeting to order, please. Start again. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Lakeland Rotary Club. My name is Joel Ivey. I'm so glad you could join us. We're going to have a great program today. Let's go ahead and get this party started. Irma Cole is going to lead us in the invocation pledge of allegiance and to recite the four-way test. Irma is self-employed, a Paul Harris Fellow multiple times over, I believe, District 6890 Public Image member, and a member of this club since January, but you might suspect that she's got more Rotary experience than that due to some kind of affiliation with some guy, District Governor Mark Skolnick, maybe, something like that. Irma, would you please lead us in the invocation?
Thank you, President Joel. Hi, everybody. Please join me. Let us pray. Thank you for the gift of Rotary and each other. May we be ever mindful of those in need. May we help provide food to the hungry and to heal the wounds of hatred with our love. May we comfort those in sorrow and bring peace to those living in areas of unrest. May we, from the memories of this hour together, derive inspiration that will be helpful to us as individuals and as members of Rotary and our community. May this inspiration go with us in our daily life. Through our service to all, we thank you for all our gifts, and let us say amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Irma, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trey, can we go ahead and do our introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. I see that we've got Doug McCall, visiting Rotarian, and do we have any other visiting Rotarians or guests today?
I have two guests, Trey. Scott Headley with Headley Insurance,
Welcome,
and Andrew Troller with Good Intents Marketing.
And welcome, Andrew. Do we have any other guests or visiting Rotarians?
I know that John Fullerton is with us, and he's, I think, officially been voted in, but he's not yet on the cyber list. So if he's not, hopefully he's soon to be a Rotarian.
Well, welcome, once they go through Rotary information, then
that's right.
Completely legit.
That's right.
And
14 weeks of Rotary information will be excellent.
And welcome, John. Anyone else? Any other visiting Rotarians or guests today? All right. Thank you all for coming.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it, Trey. Welcome, everyone. Are there any happy dollar announcements that anybody would like to make? If you would, please unmute yourself and speak up now.
Hey, this is Rick Maxey, and I want to let you know that I have been blissfully married for 36 years today to my beautiful bride, Jackie Maxey. And in honor of those 36 years, I will donate $36 to the Rotary Foundation.
Fantastic, Rick. Congratulations. And I've met your wife, and you married way over the front of your skis there, brother. So
way over.
Good job, but congratulations. And she's president of one of the Kiwanis clubs too, right?
That's correct. We're in a mixed marriage.
Yeah.
My club.
Boy. Are there any other happy dollars?
President Joel, this is Michelle Ledford.
Hi, Michelle.
I am very happy that today I'm celebrating 12 years as a Rotarian.
All right. Congratulations. We're glad you're in our club. Any other happy dollar announcements? All right, let's get into the regular announcements.
Miss DG Mark, he's waving at you.
Oh, stop waving and start talking.
Okay. I have a happy dollar that we had a really interesting and successful district conference last weekend. And we hope to make all the speakers available to everybody in an attachment coming out soon. So if you couldn't make it or you want to see a speaker again, stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, District Governor Mark. We appreciate you. And I wanted to make a few comments on those lines too. We did have our district conference this past Friday and Saturday. We had several really good speakers. Look at those two handsome fellas.
All right.
We had two standout speakers, a bunch of really good, or three actually. Vanessa Irwin did just a fantastic job of talking about her experience with Rotary. Just, really makes you appreciate the effort that people will put into making people's lives around the world just better, so much better. And then Peter Verbeek, same thing. And Mark, I hope you get your goat one of these days.
Yeah.
Maybe Peter will give it to you or somebody will. But those two speakers in particular stood up and did a really great job for us over the weekend. Certainly appreciated hearing from them. And of course, as always, our District Governor Mark gave very good remarks and just put on a really great program. So I appreciated your reign of terror is not quite over yet, but you've done a great job this year, and we certainly appreciate you, District Governor Mark.
Thank you.
Irma, would you like to talk about Rotary Cares a Ton?
Sure. Can I just make a comment on that picture? Those are the Hawaiian shirts that President Joel generously bought and gave one to DG Mark. And they were supposed to wear them together at district conference last June in Hawaii. It never happened. And this is the first time they wore the shirts together. So we got them on the screen and got a screenshot. Maybe someday in person, who knows, Hawaii or wherever, but there you go. Anyway, we appreciated him giving Mark the shirt. It was a really lovely gesture. And we all wore our Hawaiian shirts Saturday just because. Anyway, I would like to bring you up to date on Rotary Cares a Ton. I think we're either this close to hitting 50 tons or we may have gone over it. When I spoke to Linda Johnson yesterday, we were really close for the district. And the challenge ends at midnight on the 31st. So you still have time if you want to try and amp up our numbers, which are, as of now, we have for the club 7,575 pounds. So we're close. We have 2 weeks left. So if you have anything that you've donated to any charity, food, books, household goods, whatever it is, just give me the weight, send me an email, give me a text, whatever, and I'll add you to the list. The other thing I wanted to remind you all of is our STARS project, which is our workday is this coming Saturday, the 22nd at 8:30 in the morning. We will be meeting at the Carl G. Shoei Boys and Girls Club trailer, which is behind the Crystal Lake Elementary School. The address for your GPS is 920 Lowry Avenue. We can use some extra hands, please. So we've had donated the skirting that we need for the trailer and also donated the labor. They're going to put it on. Hallelujah. So we need to clean out a storage shed and organize it. We need to do some weeding. We need to do some painting, power washing. So we're going to be there for a few hours and we could use some help. So bring your gloves and some water and a hat and sunscreen, and we'll see you there. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Irma. I don't believe Todd is on today, but just a reminder, our annual dinner is June 22nd at Lone Palm. If you're waiting on a special invitation in the mail, you're not going to get it. Check your email. Be looking for the electronic versions of the invitations. We're going to go a little bit lower key with that this year, but be looking for that and look forward to everybody who can to have their participation at the annual dinner. We will not be having a meeting that day, a regular meeting at lunch. The dinner will substitute the meeting. So mark your calendars accordingly, please. Jack Lohman wanted me to mention and remind everybody that Team Trivia Night is coming up the 27th at Cleveland Heights from 6 to 9. The teams are limited to 8 people. It's general trivia, and they'll have finger food to nibble on, or you can order off the menu, and it's a cash bar. All right. Are there any other announcements anyone would like to make? Fantastic. Hearing none, we're going to move into the program. Our program today is Billy Townsend. You might recognize that last name. Billy is a professional business writer and former Polk County School Board member. He's also a freelance historian. Billy has written 2 books about Florida history and culture, Age of Barbarity, The Forgotten Fight for the Soul of Florida, and Seminole Wars, Essays of America and Florida. He contributed a chapter about Governor John Martin, to the Governors of Florida, which recently won Best Nonfiction Book in the 2020 Florida Book Awards. Billy was a reporter and editor for the Ledger and Tampa Tribune for many years. Today, he writes Public Enemy Number 1, a free website focused on a range of topics. Billy and his wife, Julie, executive director of the Lakeland Downtown Development Authority, have lived in the Lake Morton area since 1999. They have 3 children who have attended many different types of public schools. At this point, help me welcome Billy Townsend.
Hi, everybody. All right. I'm going to try to share my screen here and make this work. Can everybody hear me? All right. We're good. All right. Is everybody seeing the presentation? Let me know if you're not, because I've gone full screen here. But what I want to talk to you today is about the nature of, you've probably heard the term vouchers. It's been a controversy for a long time. What you don't hear as much about is what the nature of these schools actually are. And I think what this presentation aims to do is change a little bit in your head what you understand the word private to mean. And that's where we're going to go ahead and start. What private means in a voucher framework isn't Lakeland Christian or Jacksonville Bulls or Tampa Prep. More often than not, it means a small school in a storefront like this one in Lake Wales called In Time Christian School of Excellence. That school you're looking at right there is a tax-funded, it's a tax break funded school, and may also be directly tax-funded very soon. There are a whole bunch of schools like this. The network of voucher provider schools is much larger than people generally understand. And I'm going to I've got about 20 slides, so I'm going to move through this pretty quick. If you have a question, kind of shout it out to me, but it may make more sense just to wait till the end. And I think what's useful context in talking about what I'm going to talk about today is to take a look at the Brown versus Board of Education school in Topeka, Kansas. I actually visited that about a year and a half ago. That school on your left is the school that the Brown family wanted to escape from. That was the segregated school they wanted out of in Topeka. They wanted to attend a school that was closer to them, but was actually pretty comparable in its facilities and size. Now, take a look at Preparing the Way Academy on the right. That's a school in Lakeland that is openly soliciting for all of Florida's vouchers. That poster you see on the left of the school there is advertising that it will take any voucher it can get its hands on. These schools that look like this tend to be highly racially segregated and highly segregated by disability. And I think it's just an interesting comparison to compare what the Brown versus Board of Education looked like. And I think what's happened in the last year or so, and you can read this quote yourself, is that Governor DeSantis and the state as a whole has declared that schools like Preparing the Way Academy are in fact public schools. I mean, he said it quite openly in this quote. The problem is there's no scrutiny of these schools at all. If they're going to be public schools, we should look at them in the same way that we look at real public schools. The voucher schools are overseen, and the vouchers are awarded through a group primarily called Step Up for Students. What happens is you go to their marketplace, you can enter a location, and it'll pop up and show you where there's a private school for you to potentially use a voucher for. You can see on the left, Step Up for Students has invested pretty heavily in sales technology. If you go to their website, you're gonna get swarmed by a bot pretty quickly. But they provide literally zero oversight of any of these, and it's pretty telling the results they get. This is the scope. This is the number of schools of voucher schools that show up in Polk County when you search for Polk County. There's more than 80 of them. It is a shadow school system funded either directly by public tax money or by tax break money, which is what's called the Florida tax credit scholarship, which I'm going to come to in a moment. But I think looking at this map really gives you an idea of the scale of how many of these schools are operating and have been for a very, very long time. Step Up for Students gets a commission on every voucher, and vouchers are generally worth somewhere between $6,400 and $10,000, depending on what services you're getting. But what people generally consider a voucher, for a kid for a low income kid to attend a general education school is about $6,500. The League of Women Voters recently did a report on Step Up for Students and found that they had 11 people who make six-figure salaries there. It is not clear that they do any oversight at all. They don't do school visits. They don't even keep the marketplace updated, as I'll show you. I think it's an organization that primarily exists to keep existing, and there's an enormous amount of money coming through it because Florida spends about $1 billion a year, $1 billion, on its voucher program. Now, I want to take a second and slow down here to kind of show you how the voucher programs have been structured, and then tell you that all of this is about to be blown up. The legislature just did a whole bill that's going to combine some of this and move some of this stuff around. Some of you may even get the may use the Gardner or McKay scholarships for special needs kids. Those programs are being changed pretty significantly. Gardner's been abolished and then combined to some other things, but even I'm not exactly sure how this is all going to play out in practice in the next year. But up until now, what you've generally had is general education vouchers or scholarships on one side, and by far the biggest one of those is called the Florida tax credit. That's existed for a long time, and what it does is it gives a dollar for dollar tax credit to a corporation that wants to contribute to this. So the money comes in from a corporate, from a corporation. That money is then funneled through Step Up for Students to kids who get a voucher, who take that to the private school of their choice. There is also the Hope or Bully scholarship, which no one uses. I can tell you, as a former school board member, even telling someone this scholarship existed tended to make them mad. Kids generally don't want to escape the school where they're being bullied. They want the bullying to stop so they can stay with their friends. That's really just not very much used at all. And what's new in the last couple of years is the Florida Empowerment Scholarship, which comes directly out of tax money, comes directly out of the public school allocation. Again, all this stuff's going to be squished together in what's coming out new. On the other hand, on the right hand side here, you see the McKay and Gardner scholarships. These are designed to help kids with learning disabilities or physical disabilities by private services. I had a lot less problem with these voucher programs as a whole. There are a number of kids who benefit from both McKay and Gardner. The Roberts School for dyslexia, for instance, uses the McKay voucher. So let's move forward here. Let me stop for just a second. Are there any questions at this point? Because I am trying to move fast.
Billy, can I just ask you to maybe move your mic a little closer to your mouth, because I have a few.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, sure. Okay, sure. Yeah, sorry. So I want to take a look real quick at the FTC Florida tax credit voucher. This is the one that's been in place for a long time. There was a study done in 2017 by the Urban Institute, and it's really the only study of its kind. And it showed that 35% of kids of low-income kids who get the FTC voucher abandon that after one year. After 2 years, it's 61%. After 3 years, it's 75%. It's a program with a 75% 3-year dropout rate. It accounts for the bulk of what is spent on vouchers. You know, it's $1 billion. It's a lot of the $1 billion a year, and virtually all of those kids, when they abandon their voucher, come back to public schools, and they're almost always behind, and there's a catch-up process involved. And I think that contributes to a slide that I would love to spend a little more time talking about, because it's complex. But Florida has the worst what's called learning rate. If you measure what your test score is in 3rd grade and then your test score is in 12th grade by Florida's test scores, our progress, our growth by our kids is among the country's worst. Our kids lose ground every minute they are in the overall Florida system, which is heavily designed to take tests, and as a result, you get a deterioration in tests. What I said when I was a board member a lot was chasing test scores kills test scores. And you won't hear this talked a lot about, because Florida doesn't really want to talk about this. And I think the voucher programs and the number of kids they churn in and out of the public system can contribute to this slippage over time in Florida's test score performance. And not only that, the Orlando Sentinel, about the time the Urban Institute report came out, did a really excellent piece of journalism called "Schools Without Rules," which is talking about the same schools I'm talking about here. And one of the things they identified is that Florida's public school mass 3rd grade retention policies and our test score policies tend to drive kids out of the public schools into these private schools that don't take tests, that don't have any penalties, and don't have any oversight at all. So in a lot of ways, Florida's entire testing program exists to sell vouchers. It is designed to make to increase the consequences of being in the public system, and to make it painful so that kids will want to escape. And what you'll get is kids will escape in third grade or fourth grade, and they'll cycle back to the public system by the fifth or sixth grade, and they're behind on those tests, and that then shows up in the failure to grow that I talked about on the previous slide. Now I want to slow down a bit. I got when you're a public school board member, vouchers aren't really your business. They're I wasn't paying a lot of attention to these schools. I wasn't even aware of the Urban Institute report or the Orlando Sentinel reporting when it came out, really. And then there was a story that happened. I think it was 2018. There was a school called Kingdom Prep, which is in Auburndale, and the headmaster of the school, a guy who went by the name Pastor Tiger, was arrested for grooming kids and actually abusing them. And what became clear to me when that story broke, and the more I looked into it, is just how there's no oversight at all, and the school itself sort of imploded. Step Up for Students didn't do anything to address the school. I had people call me to ask if I could help them get their records from this school, and I said no, I can't, because I don't even know how to begin. I referred them to Step Up for Students, and they were no help at all. And because doing some of the reporting and the looking into that, and when it became clear to me all these kids were coming back to the public system, and that we were going to have to serve them and help them, I became much more aware of what a big deal this is for the public system as well. And to give you an example of how little oversight these schools have, just a few miles away from Kingdom Prep, there's a voucher school called Akeland's Angels. It had the folks who own Akeland's Angels had a daycare center not terribly far away that was shut down and I believe it was 2015, because Florida's pre-K and early learning coalition folks do exercise some oversight on our pre-K schools and our daycares. Akeland's Angels daycare was shut down, but Akeland's Angels, the voucher school, is still going strong, is still owned by the same people, and has a ton of kids in it. And I think this is where you get to a really interesting and disturbing comparison. I think Academy Prep came in and spoke to you guys as well a few weeks ago. I'm a big supporter of Academy Prep. To me, they're what a voucher school should be. But they are spending an extra $14,000 per kid on top of the $6,500 or so $100 that they get from the voucher. The voucher only covers roughly a third of the cost of what it takes for a kid to attend and go through Academy Prep. There are also only 3 Academy Preps in the entire state, one in Lakeland and 2 in the Bay Area. And if you look at the number of students they have 76 students. Now take a look at Akeland's Angels Christian Academy in Winter Haven. That's got 201 kids, and the mission of Academy Prep is to try to provide an elite private school, Lakeland Christian or All Saints type experience for kids who would never have access to do that. Largely kids of color, also low income kids of all types. Lakeland's Angels is almost entirely Black, like 90% plus, according to its figures on the Step Up for Students marketplace. It's supposedly targeting the same kinds of kids that Academy Prep is, but it has 3 times as many of them. And if you go to the Step Up for Students marketplace, it makes no effort at all. There's no rating, no nothing to show you a difference between Academy Prep and Lakeland's Angels. They look exactly the same in how they're presented in the marketplace. Now, the one thing the marketplace will do, but you have to know how to look for it, is they will show you how many of the vouchers, how many types of the vouchers schools take. And I think this is a really good illustration of a reputable school versus a disreputable one. Academy Prep is very honest and upfront in that it only does regular education. It's not doing special ed or ESE. It does not take the Gardner Scholarship Program or the McKay Scholarship Program. In refusing to take those, it's actually costing itself some money, because the McKay and the Gardner programs actually tend to have higher values. What you will find, unfortunately, is that Academy Prep is very rare in saying that. Most all these schools, like Lakeland's Angels, will take all 5 of the scholarship programs. They will take the money for general ed, and they will take the money for a special ed, but they have there is no accreditation. There is no requirement that in any of these schools have any kind of special accreditation for a special education for ESE. And it's a real blinking red light, if you're a parent, to me, for a school that's trying to mix the specialized attention that's required for a kid who's on Gardner. I mean, this could be a child who has autism or has cerebral palsy, some kind of severe condition that is being mixed openly in a general education setting. Now, mixing general ed and ESE education is a goal of the public schools. It's called inclusion, and we find generally that ESE kids generally do better if they can be integrated into the overall school population. The problem is that takes a lot of support and effort and money and capital to make work. Lakeland's Angels doesn't have the capital to do any of that. It's funded only by the voucher money it brings in, whereas Academy Prep, which doesn't even try to do ESE, is getting 3 times as much money from private donors, and so you see the difference between the school that's serious and a school that has every indication of just trying to make money. And I think this is where the racial segregation part really comes in. I put together a spreadsheet of every school, and hold on just a second. Let me get my little highlighter here. Okay, highlighter. These are 16 Polk County voucher schools that have Black enrollments of at least 76%. 12 of them are 95%. 6 are 100% Black. According to the Step Up for Students marketplace, 876 Black children in Polk County attend these 16 schools. Look at the accreditation. Not one of them is accredited. Not one. And virtually all of them take all of the vouchers. They take the whole group. I think again, the complete lack of accreditation is a blinking red light to be concerned about. And the same thing exists for ESE education. I did the same kind of thing. I sorted by the highest percentage of children with special needs in the Polk County schools. The regular public school system, 13 to 15% is pretty typical for a school like that. That's what the overall district's percentage is. It's about 13 to 15% ESE kids. You see that, here are a bunch of schools with 45% or higher. And look, only 2 of them have any kind of accreditation to do this work, which is hard work. And again, they all take FTC general education vouchers too. They are mixing kids in populations that they have not provided the support and the capital to manage. I mean, these would be extremely difficult ESE populations for a public school to deal with in any kind of effective way. I shudder to think what's going on behind the doors of a lot of these schools. And I think you take a look at Higher Learning Advantage Academy in Lakeland. It's both 100% Black and 100% ESE. It is the most segregated school of any kind in the county, and this is its front door. Not exactly a welcoming place. And when I went there to take a look at it, the only playground equipment it had was a basketball goal way on the back corner of its asphalt parking lot. It's just a pretty bleak place. Now, this is what you privately think of. This is what you probably think of when you think of private schools. This is Lakeland Christian on the right. These are high capital private schools that would exist without vouchers. And in fact, they don't take a whole lot of voucher kids. I mean, they take some, but not a ton. They have tuition paying folks. They have endowments. They have donors. They have capital. And I think as you go down, and the serious ones also have accreditation. So let's look at the accredited ones. St. Paul, accredited. Look at its Black population, 1%. Resurrection Catholic, accredited. Black population, 2%. It's got a much higher Latino population though. Saint Anthony, in which I think is in a Winter Haven, accredited 4% Black, 50% Latino. All Saints, 8% Black, 1% Latino. Like Lakeland Christian, showing better numbers. I'm sorry, is 10% Black, 8% Latino, accredited. These are the serious private schools that I think the public generally believes kids are going to when they use a voucher, but that's really not the case. And I think that's a very important thing to understand. And I also think that you could build a serious voucher program around 10 or 11 existing private schools in Polk County, but the 80 or 85 that we have are just a dangerous mix. to that end, here's how I would reform the program. I would require that every after school receive some sort of accreditation, go through some kind of accreditation process, so that you can call somebody when they defraud you, or when there's a problem. I would require a meaningful capital to endowment. I'm sorry, a meaningful capital or endowment to operations threshold. You should have X amount of money on hand to be able to function. Any school that's running only on the cost of vouchers is a school that's going to be in a lot of trouble. And I think one of the key examples of that is St. Joe's Academy in Lakeland, which I think had been in business for 70 years or more, like since the 30s or the 40s. It recently shut down in large part because the voucher system became so important to its income that it ate away at its capital. And I think they were ultimately unable to sustain the capital required to operate a serious school. I would subject after school recipients to the same kind of oversight that pre-K gets. I think the state has a pretty good system for that, and it could be easily applied to vouchers. And then, of course, I would require every private school take the same exact test the public schools take. I mean, the governor himself has said these are public schools. It makes no sense that one side gets to be, the escape from testing for the other. And I think that's the best way to either compare them or put them on an equal footing. I mean, I'm not a fan of Florida's testing model at all, but it should be applied equally.
Billy, may I interrupt you there with one question that did come in? And it's specific to testing. That's why I'm asking it now.
Yep, sure.
Are the step-up students required to take any standardized testing? The questioner understood that there was some testing requirement for step-up scholarship recipients.
There's some. They list a norm referenced. That's like a thing you check. They are not taking any of the same tests the public schools are. Like the FSA, they do not take. And they are almost entirely outside the testing regime. Some of them do take what they call a norm reference test, like what was around before Florida adopted the Jeb Bush era FCAT and FSA. But for the most part, there are no stakes attached to it either. Like any test they take comes with no consequence whatsoever. Nor are any of those results published anywhere. The bottom line of this is we've been spending $1 billion a year on vouchers for a very long time, and it hasn't actually bought any capacity to provide education. It's actually damaging to private schools as well, as you can see from the St. Joe's example. $6,400 per kid, or $7,500, or whatever the amount ends up being, does not pay what it costs to run a serious school. And the serious schools are the ones that would exist whether or not vouchers are around. And the biggest problem with pouring money into this system is that there's nothing to buy. There are a handful of specialized ESE schools that kids have really benefited from through McKay and Gardner. I mean, I would say that Roberts is a really good example of that with Florida Southern. But even that, the scholarships don't cover the full cost. It's any school that the scholarship covers the full cost of is not going to be a great school, because it just doesn't have the resources to do it. And I think that's really the scandal with vouchers to me. It's not whether they're legal or not, whether they're religious or not. It's that you can't really buy anything with them. And I think we've kind of been fighting over the wrong things for a long time about that. And this is a little text from a mother at one of the ESE voucher schools. This ESE voucher school dumped their child by text. She had been there for a couple of years without warning. She was on her way to a parent conference. This school specifically advertised itself as being able to handle difficult children, ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, those types of things. That's all over its website. This child, I guess, proved too difficult for them, and they concluded they couldn't handle this child anymore. So they dropped this child by text. This child then went and enrolled at a local public school where the mother tells me the child is actually doing quite well. What was telling about this is that 2 weeks after they kicked this child out, they sent an email to the mother asking her to come in and sign over the Step Up for Students check that the school had received on their child's behalf. 2 weeks after the child had been booted. One of the things that Step Up for Students says a lot is the money follows the child, but that's actually not true. This school was apparently trying to keep that money. The parent told me about it, and so I asked about it, and suddenly they decided to give the money back to Tallahassee. But that money did not follow the student to the public school for the additional services the child's entitled to. And when we were talking about this, she asked me, she goes, they don't have a department to do investigations of these schools. I said, nope, they don't. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. They think there's a school board to call for these schools or some official, and there's just not. Step Up for Students should be doing that. The Department of Education should be doing that, but they're not. In the case of Step Up, they're just collecting big money, and for doing what, I really have no idea. And I think one of the arguments one heard in this last legislative session is that you don't need to have any oversight of these schools because the parents will just decide if it's good or not, and they'll leave if they don't like it. Well, the previous example I just showed to you is one example of how that plays out. But think about if Publix said, we don't actually care what's on our shelves. If it makes you sick, you just won't buy that next time. I mean, that's a ridiculous approach to a marketplace and to a business, but it's also official state policy with schools that the governor is calling public schools. It's really pretty extraordinary to me. And then I think finally, this is the image. This is the image that I'd like to leave you with before we take questions, if there are any. This is Lakeland Christian on the right and Preparing the Way Academy on the left with its voucher poster there. This is the reality of what the private school, what a privatized marketplace looks like. This is the kind of society we've built and that we're building. And I would just like everybody to think about what that means and what they think what they think that we should do about that moving ahead. And with that, I will take any questions. I got that done inside of 30 minutes, I think. So not bad.
Okay, Billy, can you hear me all right? This is Amanda.
Yep.
So our traditionally, I collect all of the questions that come through the chat, and then we'll put them to you, so you don't have to worry about chasing down other voices or reading them. So can you explain maybe quickly the difference between these voucher schools and charter schools, and how charter schools fit into the system?
Right. Great question. Charter schools are very different. They are public schools that are run either by in Polk County. We have a bunch that are run at the school level in a non-profit way, because they were what's called conversion charters. The school population at some point of parents and teachers voted to take over control of the school. That's what happened with McKeel, and some of that. They are publicly funded schools. They take all the same tests. Their issues are different. They're a much better school. They're a much better quality of school. There's no comparison between a charter school and a voucher school. I would a million times send my kid to McKeel before I'd send it to Preparing the Way Academy. The problem with charter schools tends to be the same kind of problem you have with magnet schools, which is that they're selective inherently. You have to apply to get in to them. You can be let go. If things aren't working out, kids will leave, and then of course they come back to the traditional zone public school system. But that's a different problem than what I'm talking about today. Charter schools are not inherently based on a fraudulent model. They may be based on an unfair one, but they're not out there scamming kids the way a lot of these schools are.
Okay. Does the Step Up program have any requirements on the voucher schools to deliver curriculum or courses in a sequence comparable to the public schools?
No, none. They if you go, it's again, some of this is opaque, but if you go onto the marketplace, you'll see teacher certification. Do you meet teacher certification requirements? And they'll say yes, but they're not saying what those requirements are. There are all sorts of non-certified teachers who are teaching in these voucher schools. There really there aren't a lot of rules to begin with, and there's no enforcement at all. Like, even if there were rules, there's no one who's checking. So it's that kind of dynamic.
One more, Joel, or are we good?
Yeah, one more.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to read this one word for word because it's lengthy.
Okay.
All of the schools from which I graduated were accredited, including both theological schools where I earned my master's and doctoral degrees. However, many theological seminaries, especially independent Baptist and Pentecostal schools, are not accredited by the American Association of Theological Seminaries. However, they still graduate excellent people who do a great job as pastors. So, using that as an example, it's sort of a dicey issue. At what point does personal freedom become restricted by the imposition of oversight authorities into, particularly schools that have, religious mission as part of their objective?
Well, that's why if I were one of those schools, I would not want the governor to consider me a public school. I think, again, once the easy way around that is not to be funded by the public's tax money. On just the basic accreditation point, my 4 reforms, accreditation is probably the one that's least important. I think like Academy Prep's not accredited yet. It will be, but it's spending $14,000 a kid on capital to serve the kids. I think if you imposed a meaningful capital to operations rate ratio, if you impose the same tests, the accreditation stuff would probably be less necessary. I try to avoid the religious issues about vouchers, just because I think the operational ones and the scam ones are much worse. And I think people of good faith can probably work out the religious issues. Unfortunately, we've been focused on the religious aspects of this for 25 years and have allowed what's grown up to grow up, and I just think we've been focused on the wrong thing.
Billy, thank you very much. Great presentation. We appreciate you joining us today. I've got this highly coveted Rotary book. I know you Kiwanians love these kinds of things. So are you a Kiwanian?
Who, me? Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm a Kiwanian.
So you didn't say that at first. So
yeah. Well, I zipped over to the chat here because I'm vain, and I wanted to see what people were saying. So
yeah. Very good.
If anybody's interested in this PowerPoint, I'm happy to share it. By the way, just I'll send it to Beth or whatever.
I think that was emailed out earlier, Julie.
Oh, was it? Good. Okay.
I think Julie sent it out to Amanda or something earlier, didn't you?
Okay, great. Good.
Anyway,
yes, I sent it to Kim and you.
Kim, that's right. Very good.
And you.
So, yeah. Okay. Thanks.
You.
Thanks for calling me out. Anyway, Billy, I'm going to get you this book. I will get it probably to Julie, so who will get it to you, but we're going to get this to you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Well, I really appreciate you guys allow me to do it. I know this is a somewhat controversial, fraught issue, and I can be a little controversial and fraught. So thanks for letting me come and talk to you about it.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. Trey, can we thank our guests and visiting Rotarians, please?
Yeah, I'd like to thank our visiting Rotarian, Doug McCall, and our guests, Andrew Troller, Scott Headley, and John Fullerton. I also saw a couple more joined in during the meeting, Jeff Baker and Greg Agoian. Thank you all for coming, and we hope that you come back.
Fantastic. Thank you all for joining us today, too. Our weekly quote, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. That's a quote by Malcolm X. Next week's meeting, we will be at 1916 again, and it's going to be a Zoom hybrid. So we look forward to seeing you all either in person or on Zoom, but we want to get enough people to take a vote on the bylaws. So please try to be there if you possibly can, and bring your friends and neighbors. All right. Absent any protest to the contrary, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all.